Have you ever found yourself explaining something you shouldn't have had to explain in the first place? You explain why you made a decision. You explain why you walked away. You explain why you didn't respond. You explain your intentions to someone who has already decided to misunderstand you. And somehow, after all that explaining, you feel even weaker. You replay the conversation in your head. Maybe I should have said this. Maybe they would understand if I explained it differently. Maybe I need to prove that I wasn't wrong. But here's the uncomfortable truth. The more desperately you try to convince someone of your worth, your intentions, or your innocence, the more power you may be giving them over your peace. The Stoics understood something most people discover only after years of emotional exhaustion. You don't have to attend every argument you're invited to. You don't have to correct every misunderstanding. And you certainly don't have to spend your life proving yourself to people who have already chosen their opinion of you. Marcus Aurelius lived surrounded by criticism, betrayal, political pressure, and people who questioned his decisions. Yet he repeatedly returned to one fundamental principle: your mind belongs to you. Today, you're going to discover 10 Stoic lessons that can help you stop over-explaining, stop chasing approval, and reclaim the quiet authority you've been giving away. And the final lesson may change the way you respond to disrespect forever. If you're tired of being emotionally controlled by people's opinions and you're ready to build a calmer, stronger mind, take a moment to like this video and subscribe to Stoic Mind. Every lesson here is designed to help you master yourself instead of being mastered by circumstances. Stay until the end, because the final lesson brings everything together. There is a particular kind of exhaustion that comes from constantly trying to make people understand you. It's not physical exhaustion. It's emotional. You leave conversations feeling like you just fought a battle that nobody else could see. Someone accuses you of something, and immediately you start defending yourself. Someone becomes distant, and you start explaining what you meant. Someone rejects you, and you begin wondering what you could say to change their mind. Someone disrespects you, and instead of walking away, you spend 20 minutes explaining why their behavior hurt you. And sometimes, the hardest part isn't what they said. It's what happens afterward. You keep thinking about it. You imagine different responses. You wish you had been stronger. You wish you had said the perfect sentence. But what if strength doesn't come from finding the perfect response? What if strength comes from realizing that you don't need one? This is where Stoic philosophy becomes incredibly relevant. The Stoics didn't teach people to become cold, emotionless, or passive. They taught something much more difficult. They taught people to become responsible for their own minds. Because there will always be someone who misunderstands you. Someone will dislike you. Someone will judge you unfairly. Someone will question your choices. Someone will create a version of you in their mind that doesn't resemble reality. And you have two choices. You can spend your life chasing every misunderstanding, or you can become so grounded in who you are that you no longer need everyone else to agree. But understanding that idea intellectually isn't enough. You have to practice it. And that's where these 10 lessons begin. Imagine living nearly 2,000 years ago as a Roman emperor. Your decisions affect armies, families, economies, and entire cities. People praise you when things go well. They blame you when things go wrong. Some people want something from you. Others want to manipulate you. Some flatter you to your face and criticize you behind your back. That was the world of Marcus Aurelius. Yet Marcus didn't have the luxury of controlling what everyone thought about him. Neither do you. Maybe your battlefield isn't an empire. Maybe it's your workplace, your family, your relationship, your friendships, your social media, or simply the private battlefield inside your own mind. Someone says something about you, and suddenly your peace disappears. But Marcus Aurelius understood a crucial distinction. An external opinion is not the same thing as an internal truth. Epictetus, who was born into slavery before becoming one of Stoicism's most influential teachers, emphasized the difference between what belongs to us and what doesn't. Your judgments belong to you. Your choices belong to you. Your actions belong to you. But another person's opinion? That's outside your control. And Seneca understood another uncomfortable reality. We often suffer more from our interpretations than from the original event. Someone says, "You're selfish." The words themselves are just sounds. But your mind creates an entire story. Maybe they're right. Maybe everyone thinks this about me. I need to prove them wrong. And suddenly, one sentence has stolen an entire evening. This is why Stoicism isn't about having no emotions. It's about refusing to surrender your emotional steering wheel to someone else. And that brings us to the first lesson. The first step toward reclaiming your power is accepting something uncomfortable. Not everyone will understand you. And that's okay. Think about how much of your behavior is influenced by the desire to be perceived correctly. You want people to know you're a good person. You want them to know you meant well. You want them to understand your decision. You want them to know you weren't trying to hurt them. But here's the trap. The moment your peace depends on someone else understanding you, you've handed them control. Imagine you leave a friendship because it became unhealthy. The other person tells everyone that you abandoned them. Your instinct might be to explain everything. You want everyone to hear your side. But ask yourself, do you actually need every person to understand? If your decision was right, does another person's misunderstanding make it wrong? No. The Stoic response isn't, "I don't care what anyone thinks." It's more mature than that. It's, "I care about my character more than I care about controlling your opinion of my character." That distinction changes everything. Most people think silence means weakness. It doesn't. Sometimes silence is the strongest answer available. Imagine someone deliberately provokes you. They make a sarcastic comment. They question your intelligence. They accuse you of something. And you immediately feel that pressure in your chest. You want to respond. You want to make them regret saying it. But before you answer, pause. Ask, what outcome am I actually trying to create? If the answer is simply, "I want them to know they're wrong," you may already be entering a game they control. Not every accusation deserves a courtroom defense. Not every insult deserves an explanation. Sometimes the most powerful sentence is no sentence at all. Your silence communicates. I don't need to fight for my identity in every conversation. And there's something psychologically powerful about that. When you stop reacting automatically, you create space between the event and your response. That space is where emotional control begins. Lesson 3. Control your reaction. You cannot control what people say about you. You cannot control whether someone respects you. You cannot control whether someone leaves. You cannot control whether someone misunderstands your intentions. But you can control what happens next. This is one of the central ideas behind Stoic philosophy. Imagine someone sends you an angry message late at night. Your first instinct is to respond immediately. You type. Delete. Rewrite. Type again. Your emotions are doing the driving. Instead, put the phone down. Sleep. Return to the situation tomorrow. You may discover that what felt like an emergency was never an emergency at all. Emotional control doesn't mean you never feel anger. It means anger doesn't automatically receive the authority to make your decisions. The stronger person isn't necessarily the person who has the perfect comeback. Sometimes it's the person who could respond, but chooses not to. Lesson 4. Stop proving yourself. There comes a moment when explaining yourself becomes less about communication and more about seeking validation. You keep talking because you desperately want someone to say, "Okay, you're right." But what happens if they never say it? Will you keep explaining? For 5 minutes? 5 hours? 5 years? Some people will never give you the validation you're searching for. And if you make their approval the condition for your peace, you have created an endless prison. Your actions should not be performed like evidence in a courtroom. Live correctly. Act with integrity. Keep your promises. Admit your mistakes. Improve where you're wrong. And then let your life speak. There is a quiet confidence that develops when you no longer feel the need to convince everyone that you're valuable. You know who you are. And because you know, you don't need to constantly announce it. Lesson 5. Accept being misunderstood. This may be one of the hardest lessons. You can be honest and still be misunderstood. You can be kind and still be called selfish. You can have good intentions and still hurt someone. You can make the right decision and still be criticized. That's life. The desire to be understood by everyone is impossible to satisfy. And the moment you accept that, you become freer. Think about how much energy you waste trying to control narratives. What will they think? What will they tell people? What if they misunderstand me? But another person's interpretation is not something you own. Your responsibility is to act according to your values. If you make a mistake, correct it. If you've hurt someone, apologize. If you've behaved badly, take responsibility. But once you've done what is reasonable, don't keep punishing yourself because someone refuses to accept your explanation. Sometimes closure doesn't come from being understood. Sometimes closure comes from understanding yourself. Now I want you to think about something honestly. When was the last time you explained yourself to someone who had already decided not to understand you? Did you feel stronger afterward, or more exhausted? Share your experience in the comments. Your story may help someone else realize they're not alone in this struggle. And as you continue watching, pay attention to the next lessons, because this is where reclaiming your power becomes practical. Lesson 6. Protect your emotional energy. Your attention is one of the most valuable things you possess. Yet people give it away constantly. An argument can consume an entire day. One disrespectful comment can occupy your mind for hours. One person's rejection can make you question your entire identity. But here's the question. Why should someone else's 5-second opinion receive 5 hours of your mental energy? It shouldn't. Stoicism teaches you to become selective about what deserves your attention. Not because everything is meaningless, but because your attention is limited. If you spend all day fighting imaginary battles in your mind, you have less energy for the things that actually matter. Your work, your family, your health, your goals, your character, your future. The next time someone tries to pull you into unnecessary conflict, ask, "Is this worth my peace?" That single question can save you enormous emotional energy. Lesson 7. Let your actions speak. Words can be manipulated. Explanations can be twisted. Promises can be forgotten. But consistent behavior is difficult to argue with. If someone thinks you're unreliable, don't spend 6 months explaining that you're reliable. Become reliable. If someone thinks you're weak, don't give them a speech about your strength. Build discipline. If someone doubts your ability, don't spend your life demanding recognition. Improve your ability. The Stoic understands that reputation is not built through arguments. It's built through repeated action. You don't need to tell everyone you're disciplined. Wake up and do the work. You don't need to tell everyone you're emotionally strong. Remain composed when circumstances become difficult. You don't need to announce your self-respect. Show it through the boundaries you keep. Your life becomes the explanation. Lesson 8. Know when to walk away. Not every relationship deserves unlimited access to you. Not every argument deserves another round. Not every person deserves another explanation. Sometimes the most courageous thing you can do is leave. Walking away doesn't mean you lost. It can mean you finally understood the game. Imagine arguing with someone who constantly twists your words. Every explanation creates another accusation. Every answer creates another question. Every boundary becomes another debate. At some point, continuing isn't communication. It's participation in chaos. The Stoic asks, "Can I change this situation?" If yes, act. If no, accept. And if the situation repeatedly violates your values, distance yourself. You don't have to slam the door. You don't have to make an announcement. You don't need revenge. Sometimes you simply stop standing where you're constantly being disrespected. That is not weakness. That is discernment. Lesson 9. Detach from judgment. Imagine waking up tomorrow and realizing that everyone is allowed to have an opinion about you. And none of those opinions has to become your identity. What would change? You would stop checking who approved of you. You would stop obsessing over who misunderstood you. You would stop changing your personality to make everyone comfortable. You would still listen to useful criticism. You would still correct your mistakes. But you would stop confusing criticism with truth. This is emotional detachment. It doesn't mean becoming indifferent. It means developing the ability to hear something without automatically absorbing it. Someone says, "You'll never succeed." You can listen. Then ask, "Is there anything useful here?" If there is, learn. If there isn't, release it. That is how a disciplined mind processes judgment. It doesn't blindly accept it. And it doesn't blindly fight it. It examines it. Then it chooses. Lesson 10. Reclaim your inner authority. This is the lesson that brings everything together. Your greatest power isn't making people respect you. It isn't making someone regret losing you. It isn't proving your enemies wrong. It isn't getting the final word. Your greatest power is becoming someone who no longer needs external circumstances to dictate your internal state. Think about that. Someone can dislike you, and you remain grounded. Someone can misunderstand you, and you remain grounded. Someone can reject you, and you remain grounded. Someone can insult you, and you remain grounded. Not because you are emotionless, but because you know where your authority lives. It lives inside your choices. Marcus Aurelius could not control the empire around him. Epictetus could not control the circumstances of his birth. Seneca could not control every event surrounding his life. But they could work on the mind they carried through those circumstances. And so can you. The moment you stop asking, "How do I make them understand me?" and start asking, "How do I remain faithful to my values?" your entire life begins to change. You stop chasing. You stop begging. You stop over-explaining. You stop reacting to every provocation. And you begin moving with quiet confidence. That's the real meaning of reclaiming your power. Practical application. So how do you actually practice this? Start with one simple habit. Pause before explaining. Whenever you feel the urge to defend yourself, wait. Take a breath. Ask yourself 3 questions. Is an explanation actually necessary? Will explaining this improve the situation? Am I communicating, or am I seeking approval? Those 3 questions can change your relationships. Second, practice the one explanation rule. If clarification is genuinely necessary, explain yourself once. Clearly. Calmly. Without turning it into a speech. Then stop. You don't need to repeat yourself 10 different ways hoping someone will finally give you permission to feel okay. Third, keep a private record of your values. Write down the kind of person you want to become. Patient, disciplined, honest, courageous, self-controlled. Then when someone challenges your character, return to that list. Ask, "Am I living according to these values?" If yes, continue. If no, improve. Fourth, practice intentional silence. Not silent treatment. Not manipulation. Not punishment. Simply the discipline of refusing to react when reaction isn't necessary. And finally, remember this. Your goal isn't to become someone nobody can criticize. That's impossible. Your goal is to become someone who can hear criticism without losing themselves. Over time, you'll notice something remarkable. The conversations that once consumed you won't consume you anymore. The insults that once ruined your day will become background noise. The rejection that once made you question yourself will become a lesson. and the need to explain everything will slowly disappear. Not because you stopped caring, because you started caring more about your inner peace than your external image. There is a version of you that doesn't need to explain everything. That version doesn't chase people who have already made their decision, doesn't argue with every accusation, doesn't beg to be understood, doesn't spend hours replaying conversations, doesn't need the final word. That version of you is not cold. That version is free. Remember the 10 lessons. You don't need everyone's approval. Silence can be strength. Control your reactions. Stop proving yourself. Accept being misunderstood. Protect your emotional energy. Let your actions speak. Know when to walk away. Detach from judgment. And above all, reclaim your inner authority. Because the goal of Stoicism isn't to teach you how to control other people. It teaches you how to stop needing to. You cannot control who respects you. You cannot control who misunderstands you. You cannot control who stays. You cannot control who leaves. But you can control the person you become through all of it. So the next time someone demands an explanation from you, pause. The next time someone misunderstands you, breathe. The next time someone provokes you, remember that your reaction is still yours to choose. And the next time you feel the urge to prove your worth, ask yourself, who am I trying to convince? Maybe the answer will reveal something important. Maybe you've been trying to convince everyone else, when the only person you needed to trust was yourself. You don't need to win every argument. You don't need to correct every misunderstanding. You don't need to make everyone see your value. Live with integrity. Speak when necessary. Remain silent when wisdom demands it. Walk away when peace requires it. And let your character become the explanation. Because when you truly know who you are, you stop begging the world to agree. Your peace is not something other people get to vote on. Thank you for staying until the end. If this message spoke to something you're going through, like the video and subscribe to Stoic Mind for more lessons on emotional control, discipline, resilience, and self-mastery. Share this video with someone who needs to hear it today, and continue with the next Stoic lesson to keep building a mind that life cannot easily shake.